I'd like to introduce you guys today to our big male Chahoua gecko. We've had this guy for about 3 years now. He's produced a bunch of babies for us, and actually I'm going to show you guys some babies today. So Chahuas are actually one of my favorite geckos to take care of just because I really like the way they look. You know, they have that kind of mossy look to them, which makes sense because their common name, which is actually not so common because nobody refers to them as this, is the Mossy Prehensile Tailed Gecko. Obviously, because it looks like there's a bunch of different types of moss growing on this gecko. You know, the reds, the greens, the browns, and prehensile tailed gecko because obviously the gecko has a prehensile tail. So these are geckos that you keep exactly like how you would keep crested geckos and gargoyle geckos. I would say maybe there's two main differences between these geckos, and one is that the Chahuas do get a little bit longer than gargoyles or cresteds, but you guys can see that most of the length is the tail. The gecko's body length is probably actually only, I would say, a little bit over 4 inches, maybe 4.5 inches, and then the tail is going to be another 4 inches also. So it's a nice sizable gecko. As far as geckos go, you know, most are quite small. Not as big as the lychee, but kind of has a couple of the same features. Very similar looking faces. I actually prefer the face of a Chahoua though. I find it has more of a defined look, whereas a lychee, it's just basically one shape. You know, the eyes aren't separate from the rest of the head, whereas you could see the Chahua's eye sockets pop out a little bit more. So this is our male, and the other difference I guess I would say is that I find that Chahuas tend to eat more insects than gargoyles and cresteds. And I say this with limited experience. We've only ever had one trio of Chahoua geckos, but we have produced, I would say, close to 12 babies. So again, very limited experience, but in that limited experience I have found that Chahuas, basically, they love crickets when they're young, and even as adults they really love crickets, whereas I find gargoyles and crested geckos, you know, about 50% of our adults tend to completely ignore crickets. So, but other than crickets, we're feeding obviously Repashy, crested gecko meal replacement, and like I had said before, dusted crickets, things of that nature. Basically, we keep them the exact same way. So, gonna show you guys the babies right now and how we set them up. One final note on the adult Chahuas, since before I was listing just a couple of reasons that I find them a little bit unique compared to crested geckos and gargoyle geckos. I find that during the breeding season, I don't want to say they get aggressive, but it seems as though their demeanors change. They're a lot more skittish during their breeding season than they originally were before. But beautiful geckos, usually very easy to handle, and the colors are just fantastic on these guys. So I find they make great pets. They are a little bit more pricey, however, than the gargoyle geckos and the crested geckos, but you know, these geckos have long lifespans, so if you're gonna put money down on an animal, and I've always said this, get the animal that you want. Even though it may be a little bit pricier, know that you're gonna have this animal for a long time, and yeah, choose what you really want. Don't let your budget limit you. I mean, unless you're gonna get something really ridiculous, but spend that extra $100 if you need to, and get a real nice animal. Or again, if you actually prefer the look of gargoyles and crested geckos, that's fine too. Get yourself one of those, but I just find there's something really cool about these guys, and they've pretty much always been my favorites. Alright guys, so this is basically the egg laying box, or I shouldn't say egg laying box I guess, but the incubation box that we use to keep all our eggs in, basically from the arboreal geckos that we keep. So that's going to be the gargoyles, cresteds, and Chahoua geckos. So huge mix of eggs in here. The larger ones are probably Chahoua eggs, and I don't mean like, you know, this is larger than, let's say, this one over here, but this is just an older crested gecko egg. But these really big ones here, here, those are all Chahoua eggs. You guys could see that Chahuas, they actually hatch out pretty big compared to crested geckos. You know, that's a baby that just hatched out. It's already probably the size of a month-old crested gecko. So, and let me just remove that bit of vermiculite off its head. You guys could see that already they're pretty like docile. Now, let me just see if I could get the camera to focus a little bit here. Just gonna try and remove that off his face. That's one of the baby Chahuas. Actually, that's shed on its face right now. You see, they've actually already started to begin their first shed. So that's a little bit of shedding on his face right there. But really cute. I mean, basically all baby reptiles are cute. But and this one's actually a little bit bigger even. Let's see if we can get the camera to focus. And I mean, just look how beautiful these guys are even as babies. I mean, just the crazy amount of patterning on the face. Really nice looking animals. And of course these two will be available for sale in a couple of weeks, probably at least 6 weeks before we sell them. But generally we never have problems getting these guys started. Now, what's interesting about Chahuas is they take much longer to hatch than crested geckos, and the eggs seem to be a lot more calcified than crested geckos. Like, the eggs are very, very hard, and actually, it's happened sometimes where some of our babies have actually not been able to break through the shells, and we've lost babies that were basically babies that had gone full term in the egg, but that were just not able to hatch. So, but yeah, anyways, we're gonna get these two babies into a cage, and actually we're gonna put them with crested geckos. We're not gonna put them with the gargoyle geckos we have over here. And again, this is a baby gargoyle that's a couple weeks old now. You see the Chahoua is already bigger. We're actually gonna put these animals, these two baby Chahuas, with our crested geckos. Now, there's been many people who have had success keeping Chahuas with crested geckos their whole lives. Now, it's very important to realize that I'm doing this because I'm limited on space. Also, these animals require the exact same care, the exact same type of environment. And another thing, the Chahuas hatched out at about the same size as the biggest crested gecko that's in this cage. Oh, you can actually see the two beside one another. Crested gecko blends in really well though. But so at this size, you know, at this small difference in size, that crested gecko is a little bit bigger than that Chahoua. There won't be any fighting issues. Nobody's gonna bite. Nobody's gonna eat each other's tails. Very important. The gargoyles are separate from both the Chahuas and the cresteds because gargoyles are known to cannibalize on other geckos, even on each other. So I make sure I check these guys every time I'm in here, make sure no tails are missing, and if there is an issue, if one is a lot bigger than the other, then I need to separate them because gargoyles will eat each other. And that's just not the case with Chahuas and cresteds. So we're actually able to house Chahuas and cresteds together. I actually believe there's even some people who have made Chahoua and crested hybrids. Now, I would never think of doing that, but I mean, for this instance where I need the cage space, or I need room basically, I will house the Chahuas with the cresteds and it won't be an issue at all. There won't be any fighting. I mean, I'll monitor just to make sure, but I have no doubts that they'll be fine. So guys, hope you enjoyed this little video. I'm gonna try to bang out a few more videos this week. I've actually been pretty busy as of late, so that's why the video content has kind of slowed down. Also, if I'm not answering your comments in the comments section down below, it's because sometimes YouTube tends to be weird. Sometimes I don't see your comments showing up. And then some of you, for whatever the reason, I can't actually even reply to your comments. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like Safari Reptiles on Facebook, and if you guys have any questions, probably the best way to get the quickest answer possible from me or my buddy Joseph is on that Safari page. If not, you could always follow me on Twitter at PDDM89. Thanks guys, take care.